Guys, I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and the Black Business School. And I want to say hello, and I hope you guys are doing well. I thought this was worth talking about. This is really interesting. I read somewhere today on, I think it was EUR Web, where they were basically talking about Donald Trump and The Apprentice. And, Trump is an interesting guy. He is. He's the president of the United States, as most of you know. He's also a guy that's not without controversy. A lot of people say he's an idiot. A lot of people say that he's a racist, stuff like that. I honestly don't really get caught up in that too much. I don't worship politicians, and I don't waste a lot of energy hating politicians. Only time I really care much about a politician is if they're trying to get black votes. And then in that case, I just say, well, make sure that they're earning your vote. But honestly, I think honestly the whole system's racist, and I think it's usually skewed against black people. But anyway, so I just read that Donald Trump, when he was running that show, The Apprentice, he actually proposed an idea to NBC that only he would propose, that only he would think that this was that this would I could actually work on TV. And what he wanted to do was he wanted to have a season of The Apprentice where he had the blacks against the whites, black people against white people. And actually, the way he described it, I'm gonna read here on a Business Insider. I saw it also on EUR Web, and I'll check their site as well because I love the people at EUR Web. Basically, he said that that basically he said that he would have 9 blacks against 9 whites. And he said, I think that it would be handled very beautifully by me because, as you know, I'm very diplomatic. And he also said that the people, he mentioned this on the Howard Stern show, actually. He said that the people on the show would be educated and beautiful and all these other things, right? Which I thought that was really fascinating, that he pitched this idea. So anyway, let me keep reading here. They said, according to Business Insider, they said, but Trump wasn't too concerned about the potential ramifications of the show. He said that he told Stern that while there would be a mix of light and dark-skinned black contestants, the white team would consist solely of people with blonde hair. What? Like what's going on here? This is so interesting. So it's almost like the perfect Aryan race against the different shades of black people. Like that's or maybe he just said it because he just believes blonde people look better on TV, or because he's kind of blondish. I don't know exactly what his hair color is. I'm not too, people be looking alike when they ain't black. I know, so I probably sounded terrible saying that, but seriously, I can't even remember what color his hair is. I gotta go look. Y'all, I saw color shines in here. You could tell me what color his hair is. Maybe I'm colorblind. I don't see race. I don't see race at all. So let's see here. The show never came to fruition as NBC executives immediately rejected the proposal. An NBC rep did not immediately respond to Business Insider's request for comment. The New York Times used this example in a recent piece discussing whether Trump had used racial divisions in the U.S. for his personal gain. Quote, over decades in business, entertainment, and now politics, Mr. Trump has approached America's racial, ethnic, and religious divisions opportunistically, not as the nation's wounds to be healed, but as openings to achieve his goals, whether they be ratings, fame, money, power, without regard for adverse consequences, the Times wrote on Saturday. Okay, it's fair enough. It's true. I think Trump, he's a reality TV star, right? He's a guy that's thinking in terms of ratings and numbers, and he's also shown a lot of signs of narcissism. I've worked with a couple of narcissists, and I think I'm not an expert on narcissism, but things I look for are, people that and this is true just for business. If you're doing business with people, if you have somebody that's always concerned about themselves and how they look, and they use words like me and my and I and etc., and they don't usually use a lot of words like we, or show concern for other people, or an ability to empathize with others, those are just bad people to work with. Those are pricks that are hard to build with, because they'll burn the whole building down because they didn't get what they want. Like I've made movies with people who were narcissists. and they'll fuck up the whole movie because they'll just get mad one day on set and just start cussing everybody out or whatever without thinking about how it affects other people. Or you've seen me work online with people where I promoted them, but they, might be narcissists where it's, maybe they get a little bit of fame and suddenly it's like, well, all my fans want to see this and all my supporters want to see that. And when that happened, I ended up looking bad because blah, 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 because me and my, and I, and me and my, and I, people like that, you don't want to work with them. Those are what I call like the baby Trumps, and everybody's got baby Trumps in their life. You've got people in your life that are, just, it's all about them all the time. And they don't understand that in order to do something great, you have to work together. So, when Trump talks about like, we want to make America great again, that slogan doesn't offend me largely because I just refuse to be triggered by racism. I give 0.5 fucks what some idiotic white person thinks about me. I just don't care. It doesn't mean I hate you. Whatever. Well, if you hate me, fine. Okay. Yeah, sure. I hate you too. Whatever. I ain't even got time to hate you. I ain't even got time to be mad at you. I ain't got time to be sitting around all upset and crying and, oh, they put a noose in my office. No, if you hang a noose in my office, I'm going to go hang the noose in your office and be like, I got your ass. Right. If you're not triggered by a noose, I'm not going to be triggered by a noose. You're not going to trigger me with shit I can't trigger you by, because I know the game. The game is who can trigger who first. Because whoever triggers who first is the winner. If I can get in your head and get you off your game, then guess what? I'm going to walk away with the trophy. So you try to trigger me, I'm going to trigger your ass right back. And if you get triggered first, then that means I win. Take a memo, black people. Trump and people like that, what they're experts at is they're good at triggering you because they know black people are sensitive as fuck. Black people will cry and whine because somebody told them to get out of line at the grocery store. Like that lady, that Congress, I ain't dissing it, but this lady, she was a politician somewhere. She came with this story like, and I was in line and the man said, go back to where you came from, you son of a bitch. And she's crying and I'm not, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to say I didn't empathize. I'm just like, fuck him. Like, seriously, like, really? Really? Are y'all that fragile, black people? You can't win a war when you're fragile. Seriously, if you're that fragile and you fall apart every time a white person tells you that they don't like your hairstyle or they don't like the color of your pants, then you can't accomplish nothing because you're going to spend all your time being traumatized. Like a person who's constantly traumatized can't win a battle. They can't win a competition. Right? It's like playing a basketball game, and every time you get the ball, they say something about your mama, and you start crying. Take the ball, Michael Jordan. Oh, LeBron, you're so mean. LeBron, stop it. LeBron, you're such a meanie. Right? You can't win like that. You can't win. And the lady, unfortunately, it's kind of sad because I think they're going to force her to resign because the guy that she claimed made that statement about like, go back to where you came from. Like he came out to her press conference and was like, I did not say none of that. You have no proof that I said any of that. I got witnesses saying they didn't hear me say any of that. He's like, I'm Cuban. I'm a Democrat. Like I'm from another country. How the hell I sound telling you to go back to your country when I got a country to go back, right? So she's going to have an issue with that. And I think, honestly, it's not that I felt like it was justice was served, but I felt like it's like, just do your damn job. Just be good for your constituents, good for your community. You ain't got to be running around here making up stories and shit. Like, seriously, like you ain't got to go around here exaggerating or telling stories like, oh, and this white person told me that I couldn't afford the purse. And Oprah did that. Y'all remember that when Oprah had that story about how she went in the store and the white lady acted like she couldn't afford it. And everybody was like, oh, no, she didn't. We gonna go spend triple with white people to prove to them that we can afford it. You tell me I can't afford it. I'm gonna spend every penny in my bank account just to show you that I'm equal to you. You're already beyond equal, black people. I mean, you're the original man. Like there's nothing greater than you. There's nothing better than you. Everyone copies off you, right? People make billions of dollars off of you. Like Gucci, Louis, all those people, to Jordan brand, all of them, they copy, they know the world copies black people. And they put this in reports. I cited to you guys the Nielsen report where they actually stated that this is white people talking to other white people. They weren't even thinking about you except how to get your money. They were basically saying that black consumers are trendsetters and that whatever you get black people to watch on TV or whatever you get black people to start wearing or styles that they take in, that they internalize, other people copy that. So you can grow your brand in the US, in Asia, and other parts of the world just by getting Black people to embrace the brand. That's why the guy from Louis Vuitton, Bernard Arnault, is now worth over $100 billion. He became the third person in the history of the world to be worth over $100 billion, and he owns Louis Vuitton and Hennessy. I dare to say that if Black people did not embrace Louis Vuitton the way we do, he wouldn't be worth over $100 billion. If we didn't embrace the Henny the way we do, he wouldn't be worth over $100 billion, because we're the ultimate trendsetter. So my point is not to say, I'm not trying to beat people down or anything or make fun of people. I'm just trying to say, stop being so damn triggered. Seriously, you're in a battle. You're in a war. I do a series on drboycetv.com called What a Billionaire Told Me About Black People. And it started with this short 2-minute video I did where I told a little story about this billionaire and his observations of the Black community. And he didn't seem to have any ill intention. He wasn't, he wasn't like a white guy trying to be white or being condescending. He was just actually admiring like the work that I do. And he was saying, I like the fact that you don't really get into the whole, like, let's sit around and be upset about racism kind of thing. He said, you seem to understand that it's a competition, that when you go out and you're trying to build something, you're really trying to compete, that you're going to have people that are going to do whatever they can to get under your skin, to throw you off your game, to distract you, etc. And the point I made, basically recently was I was talking about how, I like the fact, the thing that brought us together, me and this guy who happened to not be Black, is not because I liked him or he liked me. I don't care if he likes me. He didn't care if I liked him. It's like, fuck that. Who cares about whether or not people like you? It's there was like a respect where it's like, okay, I understand you're a fighter, I'm a fighter. But we go out and we fight our battles. We fight for what we believe in, right? And I think that for Black people, we have to embrace and internalize a fighting spirit. So if you want to know, why I would probably get in trouble, by the way I analyze Trump's idea, I would get in trouble because I'd say, whites versus Blacks. That's interesting. Yeah, that would be a ratings blockbuster. That's kind of defines how the world works, honestly. It's not to say that I think NBC would be smart to put a show like that on the air. I think that they would fan the flames of racial tension, but they didn't create the flames of racial tension. They're just simply, surfacing what's already there. It's there. And it stays there because other politicians, other public figures won't address it. They don't address the elephant in the room. They act like the elephant's not there. But you got this big ass elephant sitting under a carpet in your living room, and everybody's tripping over the carpet, and nobody wants to acknowledge why. Everybody's like, well, every time I try to walk through the living room, I end up falling flat on my face. Well, it's because you got a big ass elephant in the room, and you put it under the damn carpet, and you act like it's not there. So what I actually think is interesting, and I kind of think this is oddly beneficial, is when people really start talking about the way people really feel, I feel better about that. Tell me if you agree. Tell me if you agree, if you get what I'm saying. I like it better when people just tell me what's really on their mind. I like the just even when I was thinking about the imagery of like, okay, whites competing against Blacks. That's kind of how America's always been built. The only difference is that it's not really a competition all the time, because it's just sort of Black people sitting back and praying to white Jesus that white people won't keep beating us up. Like, that's what it is. It's like us sitting there and like this, like, stop hitting me, you're hurting me. And they're like, oh, they're just literally like pounding away on us, stomping us and everything. And we're just, all we know how to do is cry. All we know how to do is whine about it. And our civil rights leaders, like that guy, the one that's in Congress that looks like a turtle. You know what I'm talking about. I ain't trying to diss him, but he does look like a turtle. And he don't do nothing beneficial no more. Maybe back then he was a warrior, but now he's just an old guy that just kind of goes along to get along. Everything I would hear out of his mouth would just really depress me. I just didn't like listening to Black men talk like that, because everything is like, well, what we had to do is we got to be peaceful and we got to go to church. And we hope that people will find it in their hearts to know that that we are all equal in the eyes of God. Like, no, man, I don't want to hear all that. That doesn't work for me. That does not suit and fit my instincts as a man. And I think that there are those out there who do get that, who get what I'm saying. Some people who don't. Then maybe, this conversation isn't for you. You can go back and go, maybe you can go keep praying to white Jesus and keep begging and hoping that one day the white man's going to come and start being nice to you. But a lot of us know the history. Like, we know the history. We know that you go back 1,000 years, maybe not 1,000 years, but 600-700 years. they've never been nice to black people. And so ultimately we have to be able to fight. So I'm not offended by Trump's idea. I can see what the mindset was. It seems like he was basically thinking in terms of TV ratings. I think also he was giving us a rare honest reflection into the minds of the aggressive white male. When you have certain individuals in that particular community, they are getting up every day and competing like lions. They're like, I want everything. I want to own it all. You're competing in a capitalist society to a point where capitalism is a beast and a bitch, and it's like, and the people that love it the most tend to be like the conservative white males, because they're the ones who have the most wealth, and they're raising their children in a certain way that breeds a competitive energy. Like, you're sitting there and you're thinking, kumbaya, come in and take whatever I have, and they're like, yeah, what's yours is mine, and what's mine is mine. And my objective from the time I was born, as little Donald Trump, my objective is to go in and take all of your shit because you're too stupid and you're too weak to keep it. So you have a neighborhood that's that you don't value because you're so busy trying to live next to white folks, but that property is waterfront property. So we're going to get together and we're going to make a master plan on how by the year 2019, it's 1985, and we're going to make a master plan right now while y'all breakdancing and shit and whatever the hell y'all doing in the hood. Buying Hennessy and partying or whatever. We're going to make a plan on how we're going to go down to your neighborhood, buy up everything in that area. And by the year 2019, we will own all this waterfront property, and we're just going to move you along because that's what we have the power to do, right? And if you don't think we should have the power to do this, then we dare you to try to stop us. I bet you won't. I bet you won't. That's the kind of reality that you're facing. So in a way, I'm not going to say I like the Trump presidency, because I think Trump, he's not, like, I didn't like his comment about Afghanistan and him even casually mentioning he could win the Afghanistan war in 20 minutes by just dropping a bomb on Afghanistan. Like, that's kind of crazy. That reminds you that he's certifiably mentally ill. No question about it. Barack Obama was a much smarter person than Donald Trump, and much more measured and thoughtful, I think, about the implications of his actions. But at the same time, I kind of like when people are just honest about where they stand and how they feel. I think that helps us to just know what we're dealing with. I also understand. I don't vote for Trump because it's not in my interest to support him, but I understand exactly why his supporters support him. His supporters like him because he has balls, because he says what he means what he says, and he don't care what nobody thinks. So what I would love to see is a more intelligent, blacker version of a Donald Trump go out here and really compete for what we deserve. Not to say somebody will want to be as much of an egomaniac as Trump, or as race. He does have that racial thing going on, but I don't really know how much I see racism as much of a crime as other people do. Not because I don't think it's wrong, but because I know a lot of black people who have very strong opinions about the way they're treated by whites, or they have very strong opinions, at the dinner table about, well, how white folks are, or, I went to the grocery store and I know a white lady going da da da, right? I know a lot of black folks who say things like that. And what concerns me is that if I start acting all bitchy and sensitive about what white people said about me, then they can flip the script and start getting bitchy and sensitive about things that we say about them. Because y'all seen me on this channel say honest things about white America and the way white folks behave and things like that. And I would hate for somebody to kill my right to say what's on my mind because I'm killing their right to say what's on their mind. So we got to be real careful about how we talk about race in America. I think that, just sort of jumping out and blanketly labeling everything racist, even though it ain't got shit to do with you. Like, a lot of times when people talk about Trump being a racist, they ain't even talking about African Americans most of the time. Usually they're talking about like some issue having to do with immigrants being detained at the border or whatever. And I'm not saying that that's not an important issue. It's an important issue for them. If you're an immigrant and you're trying to come into the country illegally, then it's an important issue for you. It's one that you should fight for. But I think that it's fascinating that we will scream racism and concentration camps and all these other, just literally throwing around all these terms to the point where they don't mean anything anymore because they get thrown around so much. But, while you can be sensitive to that racism, toward immigrants, you can't be sensitive to the racism that has put millions of black people behind bars over the last 20, 30 years for mass incarceration. You'll tell one story. Joseph Stalin used to say that one death is a tragedy and a million deaths is a statistic, right? And so they'll tell one story in the New York Times about one immigrant child who was detained at the border and something bad happened. Maybe an assault, maybe a suicide. The one I saw today was a suicide, and it's sad. I mean, it's a sad story, right? I feel bad for that person, but I'm sitting there thinking, I find it so fascinating that you don't take any time to mention all the hundreds of thousands of black children that have died, committed suicide, or suffered severe depression because they were separated from their families for 20 or 30 years, not for 2 or 3 weeks, while in a country that they don't even live in. But I'm in their own country that their ancestors helped build, the country that belongs to them, a country where they are citizens, are being these children have been separated from their families for decades. I know a young man whose father got locked up in the 80s over some cocaine type stuff, and his daddy's still locked up. They haven't let him out. They haven't talked about it. They're going to talk all day about a person who just came from another country who got here 2 weeks ago, but you ain't got nothing to say about this man who's been away from his children for 25 years. So what you're doing is you're making yourself look stupid and hypocritical. You make yourself look ignorant, and the thing is, I think the reason I'm not as sensitive to, say, Donald Trump style racism is because I see the racism coming from the Democrats just as badly as the Republicans. I see the Democratic racism sometimes more threatening because it's very subtle, it's very quiet, it's very like, I'm gonna pretend like I'm your friend, but I'm gonna stab you in your throat. But the Republicans are kind of just like, they're gonna tell it how it is, right? They tell it like it is. Look, we got an agenda. You support our agenda, we'll ride with you, right? There's a lot of black people that have great jobs in the Republican Party, like Diamond and Silk and people like that, because they support the agenda. They run, Omarosa, they do what the Republicans want. They're like, cool, we'll reward your ass, right? But at the same time, it's like, if that's not your agenda, then that's not your agenda. But at least I know what I'm dealing with. Whereas with the Democrats, it's like all these promises, all these freaking broken promises, all these lies, all this nonsense, all these solutions that do not work. And I think you should be offended by that. I really do. I believe that we as a people should really start being smart. Look at the track record. Look at the track record. Just look at history. History tells you everything you need to know. What evidence do you have over the last 56 years? Y'all been putting Democrats in office, going out of your way to vote for them or whatever, like almost like religiously, like it's like a religion, like they are your God. And you're so they literally come to your church on Sundays and say, let's get souls to the polls, y'all. And that's fine. I'm not telling you not to do that. If that's what you do, then that's what you do. But what has that done for you? How has that improved your community? How has that improved your wealth? How has that improved your condition? I mean, what has that really done for you? And if you can't answer that question, if all you know how to do is get pissed off at me because I brought the shit up, then you need to do some soul searching, man. You need to sit in the mirror and really ask yourself, like, why am I getting so mad? Because if Boyce was talking crazy, then I would just not pay attention. I would just say, well, no, I would just answer. I would say, no, actually, there's this, and this. Like if I said, well, prove to me, how can you argue Michael Jordan was the greatest basketball player of all time? Prove it. Show me some evidence, right? You'd be like, well, he won a championship in 91, then he won it in 92, then he won in 93, then he was the defensive MVP, then he did this, and he did this, and he did this. Like you'd be talking all day. You can break that down all day, right? But if I say, show me evidence that the Democratic Party should be the champions for black people, you ain't got no receipts. You ain't got no receipts at all. Why? Well, because you're riding on a damn lie. And you're holding on to the lie because the lie is all you got. That's the only hope that you have because ain't nobody ever showed you a better way. Ain't nobody showed you other ways. Ain't nobody really sat down and explained to you, like, look, black man, black woman, you can do this your damn self. You do know, like, it's like you sitting around for the bus to get the bus. You waiting at the bus stop for 8 hours for a ride, to get across town, and then somebody comes along and says, well, it's not that far. You could walk. It's a little slower, but if you start now, you could get there by 12. Like let's start walking. And you're like, well, I ain't got no legs, and somebody's like, no, actually, you do have legs. Look, here's a mirror. Look, you see those things out there? And you're like, wait, I think I do have some legs, right? And and they work. And if you start walking, and you walk, 4 miles an hour and the place is 5 miles away, you'll be there in a little bit more than an hour. You do know, right? Like that's what you need. You need somebody that's really going to help you understand that everything that they're promising you that they can do for you, most of that shit you can do yourself. And not only can you do it yourself, but you can do it better than they can do it. In fact, a lot of people run around here like we're children. Like white people are our parents, and we're like, "What's your black agenda? We need a black agenda. We don't know what to do, so we need you to give us a black agenda." Almost like an 8-year-old asking their dad or their mom, like, "What are we gonna do today? Like, what's the plan? When are we gonna get there? Are we there yet? Which way do we go? Are we going to grandma's house today?" Like we do that. We see ourselves as political and economic children. And what I realized is that once I became an adult, economically and politically and otherwise, once I realized that I'm as much of an adult as they are, I'm as much of a leader as they are, probably a better leader than they are in my own life. I started realizing that wait a minute, I don't actually want you all to have a black agenda, because every time y'all show up with a black agenda, the agenda is for black people to get screwed. It's like R. Kelly showing up at your house and being like, "I have an agenda for your daughter. I want your daughter to be. Your daughter's named Teresa Smith. I got the Teresa Smith agenda for this afternoon. So just leave your daughter with me, and we're gonna implement the Teresa Smith agenda, right?" So the reality is that you don't want other people to have a black agenda. You should have a black agenda, right? You don't want other people to have an agenda for you, because their agenda for you is to use you. Their black agenda is one that leads to black exploitation. The black agenda for white corporations is, y'all spend your money with us, we give you bullshit. We make a movie, y'all make us rich, right? We give you entertainment, y'all give us dollar bills. We give you Gucci, we go make a purse in China for $20, we gonna sell it to you for $500. That's the agenda, right? The agenda for the black agenda for the white Democrats is, y'all show up and vote for us, we'll feed you a bunch of lies, right? The white agenda, the black agenda that white people have for you when it comes to education is, you come and give us $250,000 of your family wealth, we'll give you a thing called a college degree that'll help you get a $45,000 a year job if you're lucky, right? So every time somebody shows up with an agenda for the black community, it always ends up being an agenda where they end up on top and you end up on the bottom. So really, when people say that politicians don't have a black agenda, that's actually not true. They always got an agenda for your ass. They've been making plans they've been making plans for you since before you were born. Little black boys and girls, before they're born, the black agenda for Planned Parenthood is abort those little motherfuckers before they become a menace to society. When you are a black male and you hit a certain age, the agenda is, well, we need these prisons to be full so we can make our money. So let's get this little boy ready for prison. We're going to have him go through a school that's just like a prison so that it won't be a hard transition when he gets to that stage. The employment agenda for black people is, we don't want you to build wealth, but we need workers. So we need so our black agenda is, we're going to create jobs for you so you can come work for us, right? Do you understand what I'm saying? They've been having a black agenda for you since forever. They've always had a plan for you. J. Edgar Hoover had a black agenda. It was, if we find out that there's a black messiah that can get the masses to rise up, we're going to kill his ass, and then we're going to plant drugs in the community. That's our black agenda. So really, black people, my opinion, y'all need to stop asking people for a black agenda and start delivering a motherfucking black agenda. My response is not one it's not going to be framed as a question. I'm not going to frame the black agenda as, oh, do you have a black agenda? I'm going to frame it as a statement. Like, here is the black agenda. This is the one that we're actually implementing. And if you want us to support you politically or what otherwise, then you need to get behind the black agenda that we've created, that we're implementing for our community. If you want to be an ally, then great. Then you come work for us. You give us some funding that we can then use with no strings attached to support our black agenda. No, I don't want you. No, I know you got programs and stuff that you trying to run. No, that's me riding in the car and you're the driver. We're not doing that anymore. We've done that since the since the 1908s, and we're not doing that anymore. We're not doing the agenda that you're shaping for us. We're not doing the agenda where you're deciding how the resources are going to be allocated. We're not doing the agenda where you decide what the objectives are. We're doing the agenda where we decide the objectives. We decide where the resources will be allocated, right? That where we structure it based on what we need and what we want as a community, and you can play backup. You can be the sidekick. We're the Beyonce. You get to be Solange. That's the way it's going to be from this point going forward. So that's my point. That's it. So again, I started talking about Donald Trump, but I'm gonna tell you, I don't hate the guy. I don't love the guy. I don't really give a shit. I mean, I think it's hilarious. I think he's interesting and fun to watch. I don't wake up every day triggered by Donald Trump because I understand the game. The game is that, oh, black people are so emotionally manipulative, or excuse me, emotionally manipulatable rather, that we could just slap them around, and if we can call them a name, or we could say something that offends them, and next thing you know, they're spending so much time being outraged that they're not actually getting anything done. That's an old tactic. It's been used for a very long time, and unfortunately, we think that that's the way for us to succeed. But the thing is, the best way to measure whether or not your method is actually working is to see if your method is actually working, right? I mean, to really look at the results, look at the receipts, and ask yourself, we've been doing the same thing for 30, 40, 50 years. Where has that gotten us? It only gets us moving further backwards. So I believe that we should move forward. That's what we have to do. All right, so I'm about to go, guys. By the way, in the Black Business School, we're about to do a Black Wealth Q&A in a second. So actually, what I'll do is I'll stream it on the Black Financial Channel. So if you want to follow the Q&A session, I'll only be answering questions from students that are in the session. But if you want to actually just watch and listen in, we're going to talk about wealth and money and investing, and that's it. No political stuff. Feel free to go to theblackfinancialchannel.com, that's theblackfinancialchannel.com. Also, and we do daily financial commentary and stuff like that because we need a Black Financial Channel. We need a Black Bloomberg. We need a Black CNBC, and that's what we designed this for. And I'm qualified to do this. My PhD's in finance. Also, our masterclass on investing meets every Tuesday night. If you'd like to join that, go to drboycemasterclass.com. That's drboycemasterclass.com. Third, if you haven't gotten your kids in a financial curriculum, I believe that that's something that you want to consider. So feel free to go check out financialworkbooks.com. That's financialworkbooks.com. And last but not least, don't forget, I'll be in Chicago on Sunday. So you can go to drboychicago.com if you want to come to our seminar in Chicago. And I see Nisa sharing the information for the All Black National Convention in Houston in September. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. allblacknationalconvention.com. I'm out of here, guys. Hit the thumbs up button if you're on Facebook. Please share this video. I'd appreciate that very much. I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Have a good day. Love you guys. Peace.